Look, I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with the showstopper. So hot, you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff, then I'll pass to my left while I'm looking.
All right, people, welcome back. If you're in the feed, make sure that you're liking, commenting, sharing, because we have a very, very, very special episode. As you can see, it's normally three of us, but it's the four of us today. And we have with us a very esteemed gentleman, one who's very known and respected within the Colts community. So without further ado, let's just get into it. Welcome to the Horseshoe Mob podcast, bringing you everything Colts and making sure that we bring you everybody that you need to know, talking about everybody that you need to know about. As you know, like I said, we normally do like all these expansive introductions, but you know what? I'm Chris Jackson. Josh Sr.'s right there, or whichever way we're pointing. Josh Sr.'s right there. We have Austin Cook, everybody, the silent assassin. And we have with us today Colts Nation, Sports Illustrated, very own Destin Adams, everybody. Destin Adams, welcome. We appreciate you coming through. We appreciate you gracing us with your presence today. Yeah, man, just glad to have you.
Gracing you with my presence. I feel like we have an unrealistic expectation of who I am, but it's all good. As long as you're prepared to be disappointed. I gotta shout it out that the intro's nice, really nice video. Love the music with it. Going from Peyton Manning being strip sacked by Robert Mathis to a Peyton Manning touchdown pass with the Colts, though, just seems a little petty.
So I want to tell you. The funny story behind that is on the previous season, because the person who does the video editing for us, he's a Texans fan. So The thing is, we had a video before which was kind of pretty neutral, but then at the end of it, it was Jim Mora Sr. with the playoffs rant, and so I'm just like, you know what, Matt? Can you just change that, please? So he put the Pat McAfee one in, and then I'm just like, okay, we like that clip. And then we saw the rest of it. Just like, okay, there was the catch. That's you did that on purpose. You set up the hopes real high, and then you brought us down quickly. So yeah,
right.
yeah, it was pretty crazy. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, man, for those of us, well, actually, before we go any further, definitely want to tell everybody about www.fanbattlesports.com, where you can go see everything AFC South fan battle related, everything with the Colts and the other three teams in the division. I don't have to name them. You know who they are. If you don't, then good job. But go to www.fanbattlesports.com. All podcast episodes, articles are all up on the website, so make sure that you are tuning in on there. And so, Destin, just like I said, we know that we know you. We know exactly how connected you are. Horseshoe Huddle, Sports Illustrated, the work that you do with you and Shad as well. But just give us a little bit of intro into who you are and how you got to be one of the most trusted sources for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the scene, I guess, for Indianapolis, covering the Colts for the last 3 years. Goes all the way back to me and a few others starting a website that is still up and running today with some great guys over there at the Blue Stable. So shout out to everybody over there. That's where me and Shad kind of connected. That's where we got our real start covering the Colts on a full-time basis, in a sense. From there, got opportunities given to us to go to Stampede Blue at SB Nation for last season. Where we spent time covering the Colts. And then this offseason got another great opportunity offered to us to join the team here at Horseshoe Huddle. Love what they're doing there. So we're just appreciative that me and Shad get to add to that. But again, throwing all these nice compliments my way. I don't want to say I'm one of the most respected people in Colts fandom by any means, but just really appreciative that people cared at all to check out my work, either written or audio or visually. So just thankful that I'm able to do this.
Gotcha. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I do want to mention that you were the first one to break the news of Isaiah Rodgers. So yeah, you are respected.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we do have a couple of comments. Now these are some of our comrades at the AFC South fan battle page and podcast. So we have the lesser of three Josh Allens. He says, "Hi Destin, what do you think Jim Irsay smells like when he's drunk? My guess is a moldy horse." Um, God, that's awful. And then we have Flame Douglas, who he's a Titans fan, but I also want to premise this by saying that he's also a Packers fan. And he didn't realize that we knew this until there was a picture that was posted on Facebook of him wearing Packers gear from head to toe.
Titans and Packers, what a combo.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Is you know what? It's your choice is your choice. Okay, we'll never we'll never judge you based on choices. So yes.
Well,
I mean, okay, maybe we will, but still, it's just like that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so I know we've had, with this being like, I'm gonna say, that kind of lull in the off season. We know that not much has been going on, but we know that there have been some things that we've kind of, I'm gonna say, heard, things that we've seen, things that people are still trying to figure out, like, hey, what's going on with that. One of the things that we have tried to kind of gauge to see exactly where things are at is Isaiah Rodgers. Now, you broke the story on Isaiah Rodgers initially, and so from there, what have we seen in the progression in that particular story in terms of, has there been talk of what the punishment will be? What is the talks from inside the organization like? How is that situation going right now?
Yes, I mean, I guess just to like go back to the situation it coming out. Wish it wasn't a story to be broken. Was fortunate enough to get that information, but like I said, wish it was something I didn't have to report. Found out the player under investigation was Isaiah Rodgers through a trusted source within the organization. The other element of that I was told at the time was that this was pretty new information to the Colts when that report came out.
Yeah.
When they were made aware that Isaiah Rodgers was under investigation was pretty shortly, about 48 hours, a little earlier than that, maybe, to that he was even under investigation. For that purpose of being under investigation, the apology comes out, which was honorable for him to do,
Yeah.
but any type of apology of that notion is going to be, in a way, a mittens of guilt. So there were bets made. I feel like we're past the point of if, and now it's just all about what exactly were those and what is it going to come down to.
Yeah.
I think the two things you hear the most about is the indefinite suspension, or if it's going to be something crazy and they bring the hammer down and make it a lifelong, depending on what these bets on the Colts were.
Lifelong. Okay.
Those are the two things that people, I think, speculate about on the Twitterverse, at least. I stay away from the lifelong, because I feel like for a lifelong suspension for this type of situation to come down, there'd have to be proof of bets against the Colts and bets under interceptions and things that you can tell that the integrity of the game has been taken advantage of in a sense. From what I've been told, there are not any evidence of any bets against the Colts, but there are bets that were for the Colts there. My personal prediction and what I think is going to end up happening is we'll see a similar situation to the Calvin Ridley. When the suspension's announced, it'll probably be an indefinite, which will basically mean in a year's time he can apply for readmittance, and that will give the NFL time to kind of compile as much evidence as they need to get to that point to figure out if this needs to be something that's longer than the 1 year.
Gotcha. And yeah, go ahead, Josh.
With it being his he's on an expiring contract. Do you think that they would possibly bring him back after this possible lengthy suspension?
So basically, to my understanding of the situation, he would not be paid $1 for this upcoming season, but technically the Colts would still have that contract going into, so let's say if it was an indefinite and he gets reinstated after a year, that last season of his contract would then push to that season that he is reinstated. Now, the question at hand would be, if a suspension does come out, which forth the NFL rules a guilty ruling through their investigation, the question will be, would the Colts cut ties with the player? And they have done such things in the past of some pretty solid players. I mean, in recent, I wouldn't say recent memory, but pretty recent. I don't know if you guys remember, you guys listening remember Jonathan Newsom out of Ball State.
Yes.
Plays for the Colts. His rookie year has a really solid season as a depth edge rusher. Gets in trouble through the drug policy of the NFL that next season in the offseason, and the Colts don't hesitate. They cut the guy immediately. He jumps around the NFL for a while, and now he's in the CFL after a really solid, productive rookie season. So that's not like yesterday by any means, but that's just a recent situation to kind of throw it back to, that the Colts do have a situation where they have shown that they are willing to cut a guy for this type of behavior.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if with that being the case, when it comes down to those types of suspensions, is that generally, is that like an Irsay call, or is that like a call for the GM? Because if I remember right, I think the Newsom thing was during the Pagano-Grigson era, wasn't it?
Yes.
Okay, so then, like I said, does that come down from Irsay, or how does that go? Because I remember that, and it was like that.
Well, it's a pretty large decision making that'll probably last with the owner at the top always. His organization, his dollar at the end of the day, right? And when it goes back to the Jonathan Newsom thing, it's a little bit different. Jim Irsay, I know there was the joke earlier about what he smells like when he's drunk. Jim Irsay is a recovering alcoholic. He has been clean for multiple years. It's a big part of who he is now. So the Jonathan Newsom thing, coming in the drug alcohol type world, that hits home a little bit more maybe than maybe this gambling situation does. So only time will tell what the Colts will do. I just wouldn't rule out a potential release if the notion because whatever the NFL comes back with their results, all of those results will be given to the Colts to go through all the way through. And I'm sure they've tried to give Isaiah Rodgers the chance to come forward about all those things. So if there's anything in that report that Rodgers himself doesn't share beforehand, I could see that being a big sign that a release would come.
Gotcha. Okay, and we actually do have a question in here from VT. He's from the Texas Fan Battle podcast. He said, "I understand rookies making this type of mistake, but there's no excuse for Rodgers, especially a 6th-round pick." So, like I said, I think we were all collectively disappointed. However, I will say that we were also very happy that the very first thing that was said by a very unreliable source who said it was Michael Pittman.
Oh, you guys got NFL rummed. You got NFL rummed.
We didn't get because as soon as we saw who it was, I think there was 2 of them. It was NFL rum and at Butt Crack Sports. So neither one of those. It was, So those were the sources, and then we're just like, oh, no way, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people were just speculating early on. The first report comes out that it is a Colts player, and then I believe it's Ari puts out the update saying that it's a player that a lot of fans should know of, and then I think that's when all the speculation ran wild of who it was. But yes. Don't trust NFL rums, and whoever Butt Crack Sports is, don't trust that either.
Exactly. The name alone just screams unreliable. So I think if you fall for a report thinking that is valid from Butt Crack Sports, then you deserve whatever comes next. So that's fine.
It's one of those decisions that we will judge.
Exactly. Yes. See, you're getting.
We're on it.
You're my guy. You're a guy. So, and then moving on to something I'm going to say a little bit lighter now. Now we understand that the Colts have been recognized for their work with the Kicking the Stigma initiative, working on the mental health. Like I said, this was an initiative brought forth by Jim Irsay. I'm going to say more so spearheaded by Darius or Shaquille Leonard. I keep on saying Darius. Darius just do you ever have that sometimes where you just say Leonard? Do you just call him maniac?
Oh, I mean, last year at training camp, I said Darius like 3 times in interviews. Still, it's a hard thing to break. I mean, I started telling myself, for the most part, just use Leonard. You're gonna be safe. But I think I've gotten it down now. It's become more natural. But at first, it was tough.
Yeah, it's still tough. It's still tough, especially since they didn't see that much of him last season. So it's like, all right, yeah, I get it. But they've been recognized for the Kicking the Stigma initiative. And, one thing that we wanted to know is with you being, I'm going to say, close to Indianapolis and also close to the organization, I'm going to say, what kind of spearheaded this and what have you seen as far as like the change that's been made with the work that the organization's done with it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is there's a lot of different charity work that teams do. There are a lot of things that people do in the community. I think what made Kicking the Stigma a little bit different was that first phrase that was used a lot is "It's okay not to be okay."
Hmm.
Um, and with athletes, and I mean, in the football world, it's being men. And for men, sometimes it's hard to express those emotions and share those feelings that are going on in your life. And I think the Kicking the Stigma thing just was a huge start to giving those players voices to share when they're not okay, before anything drastic happens. And I
Yeah.
think Kicking the Stigma started it, but it's given platforms to so many different players who have gone on to do so much in that world. I mean, Dak Prescott is a huge correspondent with
Yes.
mental health and throughout all those things, and shares his personal story. We've seen Solomon Thomas that throughout the NFL has come on and helped the Kicking the Stigma while not being a Colts player. And then obviously multiple Colts players have helped in the process of all this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm gonna say, especially because of the stuff. Because I mean, I think Jim Irsay's struggles in the past have definitely been made public, and I think they talk more so about what he's done in the past as opposed to him speaking openly about it. Just him being open about the struggles that he had going all the way back to when he was in college. So I think this is something that's important because if it's coming down from a guy who's pretty much a billionaire telling you that he struggles with these things, it's just like how real could it be when somebody's telling you that they have all this money and status and that they still struggle with something that somebody who works a regular 9 to 5 does.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, I think it when you're a billionaire at that status, when you're a professional in the professional sports scheme and on TV, it's very hard to make yourself relatable.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing for when you're branding yourself and your organization that you need to do, because for all these kids that are out there watching the NFL, I mean, that's what made Odell so powerful for so long, was
Mhm.
every kid wanted to be Odell. I mean,
Yeah.
it became the Odell catch was like when you were rolling up a paper ball and shooting it and saying Kobe. I mean, Odell became like that stratosphere. And I think Jim Irsay, the thing with it is him being willing to like start something like this from his status just makes him more relatable, knowing the things he's come from, knowing that he did struggle with addiction, knowing that
Mhm.
he has openly discussed those things, knowing that this mental health aspect of the world we live in, where it's becoming more and more common to talk about it feels pretty good to know that they kind of spearheaded it in the sports world.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like I said, it's something that, and I mean, we could be honest. It's just like they say, separate sports and politics, right? And I know that when they talk about politics, you automatically think of like the Capitol Hill politics, but they're talking about mental health. I think kind of also falls into that political side, because then you're looking at people and you're saying like, okay, yeah, I do struggle with this I do struggle with this stuff mentally, but they're just like, okay, but will you be out there next week so you don't affect my fantasy football team? Like, and we I think we've all selfishly kind of been on that. I mean, I'm very, very much always going to say that I've said time and time again, just be like, oh, I hope he's okay for next week, so hopefully he'll be
You're right.
back. So yeah, I'll say that. Listen, I'm working on myself as a person. Okay, I'm working on being better.
The
All
first
right,
step is admitting it.
exactly. I see, you get it. You get it, Destin.
I try.
But what were you gonna say, Josh?
No, I was just saying that it's tough, man. I mean, like you said, we've done it several times for players that possibly it'd be questionable going into a Sunday. You're like, I hope he's okay, but I hope he starts too, especially if it's the last game. Is you can win X amount of dollars. You're really hoping it, but like you said, we're being selfish. But uh, first and foremost, that the person need to be taken care of and need to be safe. So that's how we are as fans.
Absolutely. We have a couple more comments, and then I want to pick at you about the on the field portion of things. But we have Brandon Samuel saying, "Hey," with a bunch of Y's, and then we had oh eight, and then we have money isn't a magic cure for problems. Often it magnifies them, which is very true. So we know that definitely. I don't, because generally, where I'm at financially is generally very even keel. So, we'll just go with that for right now. But moving to the portion of the field. So I think you probably have heard more than us, but the talk of Anthony Richardson. Everybody was super excited once we drafted him. And I think I could possibly count on one hand, possibly one and a half of my hands, how many times we've actually seen him on the field. Is this type of secrecy surrounding a quarterback that you draft in the top 5 kind of like do you see it as a positive, or do we feel like this is kind of like a okay, well, what are we doing here type of moment, like almost like a negative to a certain extent?
Yeah, so I think the area of it that shocks me is there have been some highlightable type throws in mini camp and rookie camp that definitely could have been put out on the Twitter sphere for the engagement purposes. But honestly, not seeing it kind of tells me that there's probably been a lid put on it by the new coaching staff. I think from what I've been told, they care a lot about Anthony Richardson for multiple reasons, not just because he is the future quarterback, franchise quarterback of the Colts, but they really care about the person of who Anthony Richardson is. And I think sometimes when a lot of that early hype can get out there and everyone's expectations go through the roof, I think this coaching staff, maybe more so than past regimes even, wants to temper expectations, let the guy learn and grow through camp, and we'll see where he gets there when we actually get to actual training camp here soon. But everything I've been told is he's been very impressive off the field. He's been very impressive on the field. He's had some hiccups like every rookie's going to have.
Yeah.
But I do think he is on course to where they need him to be. And if you ask me to make a prediction, which you're not, but I'm just giving this to you for free, I think he's going to end up being the week 1 starter.
Okay. All right. Now, so even though we didn't ask you for that, now I am going to ask you for this now. So I'm going to say, what have you seen that leans you towards that belief that he'll be the week 1 starter?
For me, it's just the amount of people I've been able to talk to that have been around him, whether that's on the field or off. I mean, not to plug work right now, but I had a past article that kind of went through the entire off season that I did, that I believe it's probably still pinned on my Twitter even. And it was just walking through an insider look into the Colts. And on the Anthony Richardson portion of it, I got to talk to a member of the staff. I got to talk to a fellow rookie minicamp participant. I got to talk to a member in the scouting department about Anthony Richardson and got different quotes from those different angles. I mean, those are all people that are going to be looking at him in different ways. A teammate, a current coach, things like that. So looking at it from all those different ways, Anthony Richardson has just impressed them with his ability to take on this new step, this new venture that he's on in his career. And I don't think they feel pressure to put him out there week 1. I think that's why you're not seeing all this posts here and there. I mean, I think even in Tennessee, you've seen them posting videos of Malik Willis and Will Levis, Malik, man, all of them. Will Levis, Malik Willis. You see all the throws that they're making on their social medias, and I think a big reason is because Tennessee's in a spot where they kind of do need one of them to take over here very soon. I don't think the Colts feel this pressure to do it, and for those of you that know Chris Ballard at this point, he's not someone that's easily pressured into anything.
No, at all.
Even when it's negative words that are out there about him, I think he is a very cool, calm, and collected type of guy, sometimes to a fault even. But I think with the Anthony Richardson situation, they're going to just get into training camp, let everything play out. But my expectation is I think he's farther ahead than people realize, and I think he's going to end up being the week 1 starter.
Awesome.
Well, since you said that, I gotta get your expectation on the season. I mean, the high and your low.
The high is hard. I mean, to me, a successful season for this year is not as easy as wins and losses. So it's not black and white. Like, I think there's a lot of gray area in there, and it's all about the trajectory that we're pointing in. That's not the question you asked, and I'm beating around the bush right now because I don't want to have to give a low and high. But I mean, a high one's hard because I don't like to cap anything. Like, if Anthony Richardson comes in and impresses, I think this team has talent, and they're in a division that is very winnable. I mean, Jacksonville was fun this past year, but it's still Jacksonville at the end of the day, and there's still different things that need to be proven for me to take that organization as a overall functional organization. Houston and Tennessee have their problems roster-wise, but they've made some decisions recently to try to point themselves in a positive direction as well. But I'm going to say my realistic expectation is if I could see a world right now where the Colts win 9 games at a high, and I think the low, I'm going to say 5 wins. I want to say 6.
Okay,
but I'm going to say 5. I'm going to say 5, which is only a win more than last year, which is going to make people upset. But I just think overall there's going to be a lot more things that need to point in an upward direction than wins and losses. The offense needs to be functional. A year without drama would be fantastic.
Right.
I feel like we used all of it up last year, so I hope we get at least a calm year that way.
Every single last bit of drama was used last year, from Jeff Saturday to all 3 quarterbacks being used. Yeah, it was a very dramatic year last year. And we do have a comment that we have, and I kind of want you to touch on this. I know we're kind of deviating away from things, but you're here, so why not?
It's your show.
He said, "What do you expect from Jonathan Taylor this season?"
I mean, first of all, I'm going to say I expect him to be playing on a new deal before week 1. I think he's going to get that. I think that extension is going to get done before they put the pads on week 1 and head out there. I also just think last season he really didn't get to play healthy at all from the jump.
Yeah.
He was kind of banged up and kind of tried to play through it, ends up getting the surgery, ends up changing his representation this offseason. Get that deal out of the way. And then when you have a quarterback like Anthony Richardson, you're not going to be able to stack the box against a Jonathan Taylor as often as we've seen. So I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be more free to do a lot of things. And I'm really excited for the Taylor-Richardson pairing.
Yeah, that's something that we've spoke on numerous times with people, because I think people are just looking at it from, like you said, a black and white perspective, where they're just like, oh yeah, Anthony Richardson's not going to be able to throw like that, this, and I'm just like, he won't have to, because when you have Jonathan Taylor in the backfield and you have somebody who could be as dynamic as Anthony Richardson, you don't have to put the ball in his hands to pass it 50 to 60 times a game. You know, it's just like you can very easily just like have a better run game, and then, you know, use RPOs, potentially use something like a wildcat to a certain extent, depending on exactly what it is that you're doing. But he doesn't have to be that one or even like a 2-dimensional quarterback. So, I mean, even with what we've seen thus far, you know, I mean, if Anthony Richardson does become a big passer, it's not going to be this year, because
I think it'll be interesting. I mean, Steichen coming over from that vertical style offense, I do expect that they're going to at least try to push the field more than I think some people think. Now, this is just me personally as a football fan. A big quote that I have gone by when watching the sport is not all interceptions are built the same. And to me, at the end of the day, if Richardson comes in, starts week 1, this offense is a vertical style offense. We're trying to push the field. It's very realistic that some interceptions are going to come with that. So I do think fans should temper their expectations in the fact of that matter. But if we just go through the Colts lineage, Peyton Manning threw a lot of interceptions. Andrew
Yeah.
Luck threw a lot of interceptions. Interceptions are going to happen when you're trying to make those type of plays throughout a game.
Don't forget him.
So I was going to ask you if this was a Carson Wentz or a Matt Ryan, because I was assuming you didn't already own a Matt Gay jersey.
Yeah. For as much as he's getting paid, they definitely do need to get a Matt Gay jersey now.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
I wish it wasn't a Carson Wentz, but it is.
Okay.
Yeah, so well, you know what you can do? You can do like that one Browns fan did and just put like the tape and then write it in Sharpie.
Mhm.
So you can just write Gay over Wentz's name with the tape and then just put Ryan on the side of that. That'll be perfectly fine. So moving on to something, like I said, we've talked about like some of the more serious things. We've gotten the analyst stuff. Now I just need you to go ahead and just give me the fan side.
Okay.
We did an individual Colts Mount Rushmore of the top 4 people that you have for the franchise, right? And so I'm gonna let them say what theirs was, and then I'm gonna say mine because it was the best, and then you tell us exactly where exactly what you had. So Austin,
so
who
real
did
quick,
you have?
What was your criteria? Is this like your favorite 4? Is this like when you think of Indianapolis Colts, this is the 4, or is this just the best 4 players to ever wear a Colts jersey?
So for me, I'm going to say the people who I think were synonymous with the Colts.
If I were to Google Indianapolis Colts, who do I expect to come up?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. But the thing is, it's just like I'm more so outside the box. As they can tell you, I can be a little bit just if it's normal, it's not me. That's fine.
Okay.
I own that. All right. So I'm gonna let Austin go, then I'll let Josh go, and then I'll go. And then you give us your opinion on ours, and then you give us your Mount Rushmore.
Sounds good.
All right, Austin, who do you have?
Yeah, so to start it off, I had Peyton Manning, and then Marvin Harrison. I feel like those two are pretty obvious, in my opinion. Then Reggie Wayne and Dwight Freeney.
Am I giving my opinion after every single one, or am I waiting for all 3?
We'll wait for all 3 because I wanna build up. I'm gonna do like not American. I want to do like those judge shows where they just judge them all at the end. So then Josh, you go ahead.
Since mine was the best, I did Peyton, I did Marvin Harrison, I did Adrian James, and I did Bob Sanders.
All right. So for mine, Peyton Manning as a staple, of course. Marvin Harrison. I got Robert Mathis. And because I'm the outside of the box guy, I went with Tony Dungy. All right. So now, go for it.
All of them are awful. But just kidding. I mean, Peyton Manning is going to be on every single one you ever get. I mean, Lucas Oil Stadium is the stadium that Peyton built. There is not a Lucas Oil Stadium. There's probably not an Indianapolis Colts still if it weren't for Peyton Manning. So I think Peyton Manning is an easy start. All 3 of you also have Marvin Harrison, and I think that is correct. I think that's the second person that should be there. So I think for me, I like Bob Sanders a lot. I don't think he played enough to be in my 4. And I think that's one of the biggest travesties of Colts history. Yeah. If we're going to make like a Mount Rushmore of Colts what ifs, I mean, Bob Sanders is up there because of just how good that guy was. I mean, during the Super Bowl year, he was just unreal during that playoff run. Yeah. And the Defensive Player of the Year award year, Bob Sanders, I believe the kids nowadays would say he was him. He had that going for him. Dwight Freeney, another guy. I mean, the guy is just so physically talented.
Mhm.
I just wish that it would have been entirely in Indianapolis, and I wish it would have not had a few of those injuries. So I think Robert Mathis would get the jump for me over Dwight Freeney because of his longevity with the Colts and the overall sack record with the Colts and his impact on the state of Indiana. I would probably go Peyton. I'd go Marvin. I'd go Robert Mathis.
Mm.
And although this guy is not someone any of us watched, I'm sure.
Okay.
I would probably go Johnny Unitas because
Yes.
the pre-Indianapolis era, Johnny Unitas was in the conversations of like the greatest quarterback of all time before it was the fun conversation to have. Now, if Johnny Unitas were to be talked to about the Indianapolis Colts, he's not a fan of the Indianapolis Colts. He believes in all those things should stay in the city of Baltimore. But whether he likes it or not, all of those records still stay here. So I think Johnny Unitas would probably be the 4 for me. Now, if it was just personal impact on the Indianapolis Colts, I do think Tony Dungy is warranted of that 4th spot. I think what he was able to do and change the culture here is huge. And just that era of Colts football has made it to where there's still an era of Colts football.
Yeah, absolutely. So okay, so it sounds like you're agreeing with me. Okay, that's fine. I've gotten crap from Josh like for the last couple days.
Hey, I mean, I wasn't there when you guys talked about your criteria. So that's why I tried to get it. But if you were asking me my Mount Rushmore of just the most impactful figures to the Indianapolis Colts, I mean, Tony Dungy would be on mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
Johnny
I
Unitas
was gonna say Chuck Pagano and Grigson, but those guys didn't make the cut.
First off,
Hey,
Grigson on the Mount Rushmore.
Chuck Strong still does a bunch of solid things for the city of Indianapolis. So
He
love
does.
that guy. Not a great football coach, but love the guy.
Hey, he's an even better special guest on the Pat McAfee show.
Yes, he is.
I will say that. I will say that. But all right, so we've picked your brain on literally everything. But as we go ahead and close out, we just need to know exactly where to find you, what you have coming up next. So, this way, not only do the people know where to find you, but we know exactly, what to look out for. So let us know what you got coming up.
Yeah, I mean, if you want your Twitter feed just flooded with all things Indianapolis sports, the Colts, the Pacers, the Indiana Hoosiers, the Purdue Boilermakers, go ahead and follow at the Destin Adams on Twitter. Right now, the NBA draft just happened, so you'll see a lot of Pacers content. So just prep yourself for that notion. But training camp is coming up here real soon. I really plan on being out in Westfield for training camp in person a lot this year. Hopefully all of the practices we're still going there, so fingers crossed, people. We'll see how that works itself out, but you can find all my written content at si.com/Colts for Horseshoe Huddle. I have a series coming up this week that is going to be starting with a certain position and talking about different breakout player candidates for the Indianapolis Colts. For you listening, you get a sneak peek of the first article, and it's a certain player that doesn't like quarterbacks a lot. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, thank you for that hint and clue. Now I'm definitely going to have to tune in. So si.com/Colts. And like I said, you said you have that coming up, right?
Yep. That the first installment of that series will come out later this week.
Fantastic. All right. Look out for that on si.com/Colts. And other than that, I mean, actually, you know what? No. The people know where to find you. I just need to know, scale of 1 to 10, how much did you like the Pacers pick?
10. I mean, Jarris Walker's who I've wanted the last year. I mean, if you weren't getting Wembanyama, Jarris Walker's who I've wanted for like the last 6 months almost, knowing where they were going to be picking. So I like Jarris Walker a lot. I liked his game all the way back in high school at the IMG Academy. So really like his upside with his athleticism and defensively. So I'm excited to see him in the summer league.
Yeah, and there was one more thing. I think there was an article saying that the Pacers, just because, I mean, apparently they're saying that the Pacers need a veteran presence or need somebody who's going to – they were talking about a chance that Tobias Harris would go to Indiana. How would you feel about that?
I mean, I think them going out and adding a small forward would be a good decision. I think Tobias in today's NBA is more of a power forward personally.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he fits as well. But I also saw that the Sixers are asking for everyone's first and second born child for him.
Right.
So he may not be in the cards no matter what. But there are some interesting veteran wings out there that I think could make a lot of sense for the Pacers.
All right.
Well, hey! Before he go, you guys are doing the same thing to LA for Turner and Hill. You're doing the same thing.
Hey,
you guys are doing the same thing.
All I know is Miles Turner and Buddy Hield, if you ask Twitter, have been Lakers for like 3 seasons. So yes. I was just waiting for something to happen, but I don't know, man. I feel like if that trade was going to happen, it would have already happened.
Well, you finally made a trade with us, for the 40th pick.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that.
We gave you a consolation prize since you didn't have Miles.
Yeah, because we've only been hearing about Hield and Turner, I'm gonna say, since the pandemic. So I mean, that's
back in the BC times. It feels like.
Well, I do appreciate Fino. He's a pretty good player, so I appreciate that.
Hey, Hoosiers!
There we go. See that?
I was waiting on that.
Giving us a little Hoosier hometown. Okay, we appreciate that. But other than that, Destin, thank you for everything today. Thank you for your insight. I'm gonna say you're gonna be at training camp. I'm gonna say one of us is probably gonna be trying to make our way up there. If not, would you mind? I'm gonna say sometime in August, possibly coming on so that we can pick your brain about everything that you've seen, everything that you got there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm easy to contact. I mean, I feel like 2 of the 3 of you have already DM'd me before, so feel free to message me anytime you guys need anything. Love to jump on these kind of things. I like to talk ball. At the end of the day, I like to talk ball. So however we can do that, and as long as people are going to keep listening to me do it, I'm going to keep rambling on.
Hey, so do we. And I have a feeling, even though you said 2 out of 3, I feel like that was a personal shot. So I'm going to have to go ahead and send you a message now. Because
I just didn't know. I just didn't know. It's possible. It's possible that I've DM'd all 3 of you. Those 2 have just definitely DM'd me today.
No, because I'm sitting there thinking about it. I'm just like, 2 out of 3. I'm just like, wait. I know. Wait. Yeah, that's me.
Hey, if the shoe fits. If the shoe fits.
With Dustin, is it possible that we get both you and Shad on?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure Shad would love to do something. I mean, he's a little bit busier than I am. His day job is a little bit more time consuming, so you got to get him on the schedule. But Shad's always a good time. So just let him know I sent you, and I'm sure he'll get something ready for y'all.
All right. So you know what? I'm actually going to do a group message with you and Shad. This way we are going to
2 birds, 1 stone right now.
Exactly. Like all bases. All right. So yes, but in all seriousness, thank you so much, Destin, for coming on. We truly do appreciate you. And like I said, hopefully we'll have you on a future episode so you can give us more insight. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please make sure you're visiting www.fanbattlesports.com and make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube, Twitter, anywhere we're social media. I think we're on everything except for Telegram. But so just go ahead and tune in. And then outside of that, people have a great night. Have a great weekend. Sam loves Jalen Ramsey.
I'm unstoppable. Forget your defense, nothing but an obstacle. Run it back, switch it up, call it audible. Serving up them Hail Marys till the game over with the showstopper. So hot, you gotta blow on it. I said I'll huff and I'll puff, then I'll pass to my left while I'm looking to my right. Hit him right in the chest. It be looking like magic. Better give me the throne. I ain't talking about Patrick, but I rep my home. I'm never at the end of my zone. I'm bad to the